Welcome to Analytics with Nags. In this video, we are going to see about what are aggregations in Power BI. This is very important and very good concept in Power BI, where it is considered as balance architecture, and where you can create aggregations table instead of querying from the big data or the huge data set. You can query it from the aggregated table whenever it's required, and only when it is needed it will go and get the data from the detailed table. Let us try to see in this video how to set up it, how to achieve this one in Power BI. If you are new to this channel, hit the subscribe button to learn the concepts in Power BI and press the bell icon for notification. What are the advantages of going for aggregations is like better query performance over a big data, and you have a huge set of data set, and whenever it requires a lot of time for your querying, I mean when you do your reports it is taking too much time, then you need to consider aggregations. And when you do aggregation, it will definitely improve the performance. Optimize data refresh, where your refresh time will be very quick instead of going for waiting for a long time. As I said before, it's a balanced architecture. Let us try to see what it is in our next slide. What it is. We will see our typical architecture. This is typical star schema where you have fact table and two dimension tables connected. You can have a multiple dimension. For simplicity, I have put only two. So when there is a report built on top of this, all the reports fetching data from the fact, and whenever it's required some kind of filtering slicer and dicer like year, quarter, or any product category, it will go across these tables. And assume it's a big data, so we have configured direct query mode, and this aggregation configuration is applicable only for the direct query mode of tables. So that is bear in mind. Now when you have this setup and it is in direct query and it's a huge data set, whenever the report is fetching the queries, it is taking some time, and you thought like you need to improve performance, you don't find a way, but you identified like only few columns or it requires certain kind of combinations the query is going to generate. Then for that combination you will create an aggregated table. So this aggregated table is nothing but group by of certain columns from your sales or your date and product reference. That is basically it will create one more table from the sales detail called sales aggregate, and it also has a reference to product key and date key here. It is same like sales detail, but which will be grouped by certain combinations. Then we will have measures that will be pre-aggregated. Either it can be a sum or count depending upon what kind of logics it contains, right? So once you create it, then this will be import mode and this will be direct query mode. Then when the query fires earlier, the few step before, when it is this, in this case, whenever the query fired, it will be direct query mode, so always the query hits at the source. When you say like when you have aggregated table here, then this is import mode. As everyone knows, import mode is too much performant efficient because Power BI designed in that way. So what happens to these two? So that is why you need to set the mode of these tables to dual. Like when the aggregated table is set to import mode, and instead of direct mode, these two tables will turn into dual mode automatically. This is what a balanced architecture of aggregations. We are going through in detail from the scratch. We will try to build a direct query mode and initial design. Then we will create aggregated table and then set the import mode. Then we will see one real example hitting the aggregated table whenever it requires, only it will move to the sales detail table. Let us try to check in this video. I'm just launching Power BI. Right from launching, I'm going to demonstrate. Bear with me. I'm going to use AdventureWorks dataset. It is not huge, but for understanding the concept, that is fair enough. Let us try to get the data. I'm going to give the server name. This is fine. This is in my local. Then I will go for AdventureWorks, where I will choose fact internet sales. That's all our favorite for the demo. Select related tables. Then go to I hope I have choose the import. That is my mistake. Let us do it again. I said it should be direct query mode. Once it is imported, then we cannot roll back to direct query. When it is direct query, we can go back to import mode. So that is why we can go for it. So let's do it once again. Just this is for your information, and doing it once again, like fact internet sales, then choose your related tables. It is selected. Then I will uncheck some other tables. I don't want to confuse with many of the options. Let us go by dim date, product, and just dim date, dim product. I will remove the sales territory. So date, I don't want customer as well. Fact, product, and date. Okay, this is what. Then no need to transform here, just we'll press load. Everything is direct query now. As soon as it loaded, it will be very quick, no need to worry. Okay, as soon as you see here, there is no way, I'm in direct query mode, there is no option for viewing the data. That is fine. Now you can see the fact internet sales. For simplicity, we will remove this one. Let us assume we have only the sales date here. I mean today, order date. Let us not confuse with other dates here. This is not based on the due date. I will change the relationship to order date, right? This is fine. Okay, now you can see now everything is direct query. This table is direct query, and again the date table is direct query. Now what we need to do, we can create any reports on top of it, but we need to create an aggregated table. So whenever the query fires, now everything fires to the SQL server, right? So in order to see it, what kind of whether it is the source or not, we can go for profiler. Profiler is the tool that is used to identify whether some queries are firing whatever the operations hitting the database, right? Whatever events happening in the database, it will keep tracking. That is the main purpose of it. I'm just running the trace. I will clear it off. I will run it again. Now you can see here I'm just using the sales order number. When I use this one, okay, now you can see the query is fired. The sum of sales order number. It is actually not the sum, but Power BI fires the query that hits the SQL Server database because it's a direct query mode. So whenever there is any reports refresh happen, it always hits the SQL Server. Instead, what we are going to do, we're going to create aggregate table. So all the queries that can be answered from aggregate, it will not hit the database. That is how we improve the performance. How you can create a aggregate table? There are different ways. Either you can go to transform and you can, if you have option of creating the aggregate table at the source level in the database, you can go and do it. Always it is recommended, but what I'm trying to say here is like, you have here you have this fact internet sales table and you are querying this data. Now what I'm going to create, I'm going to create based on the order date and product key, the sales amount and tax amount, only these two, for as simple as that. My aggregation remains like this: group by. This is the one way of creating aggregation table. Hold on a minute, invalid in the select list, because I need to create a proper aggregations here, right? There you go. So this is one way of creating it. This is the way I like the most, because we push most of the things and most of them are familiar with SQL queries. Now you can see there are only 23,000 rows out of I hope total it will be 60,000 or 40,000 rows. I mean more than 60,000. Let us see this one. How many rows? Select count of one, but it is not advisable for 60,000 to 20,000, but this is a very sample data. In your case, in actual scenario, it might be a million or a billion rows. From a billion rows, when you group by different combination, it will be definitely will be in thousands, or from a billion, if it reduced to million, it will be obviously very good performance table. So that is fine. So this is a way you can create, or if you have access to the um, source, like you can create a view, create sales aggregate, create view, and assume you do not have this is the one of the way to create, right? When you create a view, then it's fine. Assume you do not have rights to create a view, you do not have a control over database, right? So in that case, no need to worry. Just go to here and you can write that script over here. What I'm trying to say here is like, take this database name and then go here and advanced option. You can paste this query. Instead of creating a view or a persistence table, then you can write that query over here. Give me a minute. So just you can paste it, then this will create you the aggregated table in the Power Query layer itself. So this is also absolutely fine. You can go by this, and if you don't like it, then you can either I mean you do not know how to write queries or all other stuffs, then keep this one and have the reference as an aggregated table. Then keep whatever columns, or you can create aggregated table over there as we created in my previous video, like group by, and you can choose some other columns here like order date key. Then you can choose sum of sales amount, and you can give some name and add aggregations as sum of tax amount and give some name here, right? So this is another way of creating it. So these are different types. In my case, let me go by the picking up the view that I've created. That will be easy for me to make it demonstrate, right, as I already created it. So let us go for this view now. So this is fine. Now in this case also I'm going for a direct query. Let's go by that, and I'll choose this view just now we created. We have two columns, and this is nothing but sales aggregate table. And you need to ensure that the aggregated columns sales and tax should have a same data type, like over here sales and tax. Okay, otherwise the aggregations won't match. Let me tell you what I meant here. So we'll go here and see what happens. Now we got aggregated table here, right? So let us create a relationship for this. Order date key, order date key. Then here we have product key, product key as well. This is fine. Now you can see here this still is direct query mode, and what we can do now, we are going to create the actual aggregations. Manage aggregations. Just right click on this table, manage aggregations. Now as soon as you see here aggregation table is this, then you can go and choose sum of fact sales, and you have sales amount, then sum of fact internal sales, then sum of tax amount, and ensure that these sales in the aggregated table and detailed table sales amount both are same. Okay, so this is the thing, and you can see here there is a warning: this table will be hidden if aggregations are set, because aggregation tables must be hidden. And I also I think this group by columns, the order date key, product date key, is also an optional field. If it is provided, it's well and good. If you see, if you go and choose this one, it is good, and if you are not providing it, and it is absolutely fine. And this option is required only when it is used for a big data. So for safer side, we will give this option. So these are the different group by columns, and this is the summation column. Then click on apply all. Then you can see table is entirely hidden, and the storage mode, either it can stay as a direct query, or I want to do it as an import. When you do a import, see, until you store it as a direct query, this too also remains direct query. But as soon as you change this one to import, you want to do import, then only the performance will be much faster, since this is what the balance architecture is. So when you click on import, then that is a very big message saying like the number of weak relationship can be reduced by setting following tables to dual. So this is what a dual relationship type means. Somebody might be confused till this date, what is this dual relationship? So when you have a detailed table in direct query mode and aggregated table in import mode, the related dimensions will have to be set to dual based on the query. If can be answered from dual, this table can act as an import mode. If the query has to be answered from the detail table, this table acts as a direct query mode. That is why it's called dual. It is as simple as that. When you choose import for aggregated table, if these two tables are evaluated, then that's it. You are done with your aggregation setup. Okay, fine then. Then as soon as you set to dual, you can see the table is enabled here. This is fine. Now let us see the scenario where I want to use the sales amount, right? Sales amount, and by sales amount by product, okay, where I use product class. Whether now this is hit the database or not, we will clear this cache, and I started running the trace. Okay, now I say like when I do class, I will remove the class and I will put color. Whether this has hit the SQL server, because the trace is running, it is doesn't hit the SQL server. The answer is getting from the aggregated table, because this product and your sales amount both are at the aggregated table itself, right? As soon as you introduce some other column, right, say for example freight wise, I want class. Now you can see a query is hit to the direct query, I mean the database, where you can see considerably a freight column is mentioned. I mean this is the actual query freight. you can see select sum of right from this particular combination of table. It can be any combination. So but basically you need to understand the fact, like, so in the same query model, I mean in this architecture, the columns used in the aggregation tables are used when the query fired, and it goes and check whether I can answer it from the aggregated table. If yes, this will be act as an import mode. Now in this case, fright is nowhere used in the aggregation table, so it will ensure like I don't get answer from the aggregated table. I will go and check from the detail table, so it hits the detail table. This is what happening. And you can have multiple aggregated tables, and based on that you can set the priority. As you can see here, you are setting the precedence, whether this, what is the precedence of aggregation table. First you need to check this aggregation table, and you are creating another aggregation table, and you can set the precedence to it as well. So this is what overall logic behind the aggregations in Power BI. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and comment below for queries. Do remember that data is your asset.